A horrific hijack of a train that took place in Pakistan's Balochistan province. We will be telling you all about this siege that spanned 30 hours. Hello there, you are watching Inside South Asia with me, Dasuni Athauda, and here's what we have in store for you this week. Our top story this week, the hijacking of the Jaffar Express, where the siege took place over 30 hours. The train was traveling from Quetta to Peshawar and was hijacked by the Balochistan Liberation Army late on Tuesday. 440 passengers were aboard the 9 coaches. Officials say militants unleashed a barrage of gunfire as the train traveled through a tunnel early in its journey and took people on board hostage. 21 people were killed. 4 personnel of the Frontier Corps were among the casualties. Pakistani security forces say that all the 33 militants involved in the standoff were killed. The video released by the Baloch Liberation Army show militants blowing up the railway tracks moments before the Jaffar Express train was hijacked. Pakistan security forces said a large number of the hostages, including women and children who were used as human shields, were rescued. The BLA fighters were demanding the immediate and unconditional release of Baloch political prisoners. Let's take a listen to what the passengers had to say as they relive this horrific encounter.
सिचुएशन बहुत ख़राब था। सिचुएशन जो है ना देख ले कि हमें 2 दिन से हमने खाया भी कुछ नहीं।
The situation was terrible. We didn't eat anything for 2 days. Our last meal was at sunrise, closing of fast in Ramadan, and after that we survived only on water. We even had to drink water from the train's washroom. Then, last night, our army arrived. By evening, they had cleared everything. They gave us protection, served us food and water, and took care of the situation.
पानी भी दिया, फिर हमें वो भी ले आए। पूरे एरिया उन्होंने क्लियर कर दिया।
They kept us hostage for the whole night. Around 5 in the morning, they wanted to relax because they had shot so many people overnight. Some of them were Punjabis and some Sirakis. They thought we would not escape as they earlier warned us that if we tried to escape, they would shoot us. Around 5 in the morning, we escaped and they intensively fired at us from behind.
They asked us to come out of train one by one. They separated women and asked them to leave towards the Quetta side from where the train was coming. They also spared elders.
First, they hit the engine with an RPG. After that, gunfire started and explosions were heard. RPGs were used. God saved us. They made us get off the train and told us to get down or they would shoot. We got down and then they said leave.
People were attacked and the attackers caused a lot of damage to the passengers. Passengers were injured and some passenger died.
We're desperately trying to contact our relatives, but there's been no response since we heard the train was hijacked in Bolan and passengers were taken hostage.
My cousin, a woman and a small child were on board, traveling from Quetta to Multan to pick up a family member. I'm frantic with worry, but no one is telling me what's happening or if they're safe.
It is a difficult time for the entire nation. Our security situation is not that ideal, but it also has its own factors. Government of Balochistan and its security operators are trying their best to improve the security.
कि इसको improve करें.
Bangladesh's students are spearheading protests once again across campuses in the country. This time, they are raising their voices against a rising number of crimes and violence against women in Bangladesh. This also goes to show their displeasure over the crumbling law and security system in the country. A clear sign that Bangladesh's hopes for a new age is going sour. Here's more.
It continued through the last weekend and into Monday and Tuesday. Tens of thousands of students at college campuses in Dhaka and other cities demand justice for victims of rising atrocities against women. There's a rising pitch for removal of Home Affairs Advisor Mohammad Jahangir Alam Chaudhry. The immediate trigger was the brutal torture and rape of an 8-year-old girl in Dhaka on the 6th of March. Doctors say her condition is critical. A case has been filed against 4 suspects, all known to her.
We have been silent for a very long time, and the violence has been normalized because we have not seen the government take any visible steps to actually resist or at least diminish the number of violence that has been happening. We need reforms in every single step, in every single sphere of the society, and we have suggested some of the recommendations. For example, the definition of rape.
Reports of rising attacks on women in Bangladesh took off during protests that ousted Sheikh Hasina in August last year. Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus's spin doctors had downplayed them. The incidents have piled up. Multiple cases of brutal assault, rape and gang rape have been reported, many of them within families. That's besides the many concealed for fear of shame to the family name. It is extended to social restrictions imposed on women. Young women assaulted over a dispute on smoking in public, cancellation of women's sports matches, actresses and models prevented from inaugurating showrooms. The latest case, the 8-year-old girl's rape, has been a tipping point of sorts. The numbers tell a horrible story. Women's rights organization Bangladesh Mahila Parishad reported 189 cases of violence against women in Bangladesh in February alone. The report released last week says this included 72 minor girls, of whom 30 had been raped. 46 victims, including 10 minor girls, died in these attacks. Police headquarters data says cases of violence against women surged 19.5% in just 1 month from December to January. A joint survey by the UNDP Bangladesh, National Human Rights Commission and CRI says about 87% of women in the country have faced harassment at least once in their lives. Only 1% of them reached out for legal help. Amid mounting criticism, Chief Advisor Yunus has stepped in to raise alarm on the law and order situation. The government promised to speed up investigations on women's crimes. A crumbling law and order situation is just one of many problems on multiple fronts that Yunus contends with. Protests by Islamic groups like the Hizb ut-Tahrir demanding an Islamic caliphate have gained momentum over the last few weeks. Clashes with police are a regular feature. To this backdrop, add an economy in freefall, geopolitical troubles, and the ever-rising shrill for early elections. Yunus's troubles are no one's envy.
Let's now shift our focus to Nepal. Is Nepal going the pro-monarchy way 17 years after it became a fully fledged democracy? Rising pro-monarchy protests coupled with a huge reception received by King Gayendra on his return clearly seem to show that the country is once again swaying towards monarchy. The country's failures in democracy comes to focus. Here's more.
A sea of supporters outside Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport as the former king Gyanendra Shah returns to the capital after 2 months. Pro-monarchy individuals put the number present at 400,000. A more conservative report said more than 10,000 turned out. This was preceded by bike rallies with hundreds participating, calling for a return of Hindu monarchy.
We are here to give the king our full support and to rally behind him all the way to reinstating him on the royal throne.
A member of the Hindu nationalist Rashtriya Prajatantra Party posted on X that he could feel the winds of change that moves to restore the monarchy and scrap federalism had taken off. Nepal has had all of 13 governments since it became a republic in 2008. That's 13 governments in 17 years. There's no end either to power games and political wrangling at the top. There are signals now of the voting public drawing the line on personal ambitions as the people gain little of the fruits of democracy.
The country faces instability, prices are high, people are jobless, and there is a lack of education and healthcare facilities. The poor are dying of hunger. The law applies to the public, but not to politicians. Now we are awakening in every household to re-establish the monarchy, which may bring relief to the people.
It's been a series of twists and turns on the nature of government in Nepal over the last few decades in particular. Nepal had been an absolute monarchy for 240 years. In 1990 though, after a series of mass protests, King Birendra agreed to transition Nepal to a constitutional monarchy, sharing power with an elected parliament. But people remained unhappy with the monarchy. Crown Prince Dipendra, reportedly intoxicated, killed his family members before turning the gun on himself. Dipendra himself died 3 days later and Gyanendra, his uncle, became king, dissolving all political parties. Gyanendra imposed a state of emergency in 2005 to take control of the government. 7 political parties joined hands. Protests erupted demanding a complete end to the monarchy. Gyanendra bowed to pressure and reinstated parliament in 2007. And in 2008, the newly elected Constituent Assembly voted to abolish the monarchy. Nepal became a federal democratic republic. 17 years on, even alongside a visible support for return of the monarchy, the political leadership rubbishes the idea, firmly calling monarchy a thing of the past in Nepal. But there's no refusing the fact that the winds are blowing. 17 years of political instability and corruption are having their say. These may be early signs, but is there another big twist coming?
Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, which is the 5th largest party in the parliament, is at the forefront of all the pro-monarchy protests across the country. In addition to the reinstating of constitutional monarchy as quote-unquote guardian of the state, Rashtriya Prajatantra Party also demands the scrapping of the provincial structures and to only keep 2 tiers of the government, central and the local. The increase in the pro-monarchy protests across the country has raised concerns in the parliament and among all the mainstream political parties. Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli has criticized this movement and has called on the former king to respect the establishment that was set in 2008. Saloni Murarka for WION World is One in Kathmandu, Nepal.
New Delhi, which has been battered from pollution on multiple fronts, has been promised a new makeover from the newly elected state administration. The Bharatiya Janata Party, which came into power recently, has promised for one of the largest trash piles to be cleaned up by March next year. That's not all. The cleaning of Yamuna, one of its poll promises, is also set to take place. Here's more.
For approximately 34 million people residing in the Delhi metropolitan area, the sight of landfills visible from kilometers away with garbage piled up to 60 meters It is a source of embarrassment and puts a dent in the mega city's aspirations of being world-class. A slipshod approach to waste management has not helped matters, especially during Indian capital's long, intense summer when regular spot fires turn the trash mounds into toxic conflagrations, spilling dangerous chemical fumes into nearby neighborhoods.
In Delhi, there are 3 such sites: Ghazipur, Palswa, and Okla. The daily generated waste is dumped here by the MCD Municipal Corporation of Delhi. Initially, the civic agencies were not able to segregate that waste. That is why it became a huge mountain of garbage.
On the 4th of March, the Delhi Environment Minister, Manjinder Singh, said that the work was underway to process and dispose of waste at the Balswa landfill, one of the city's biggest trash piles. According to the latest plan, the Balswa site will be cleared by March next year, but the locals around the Balswa landfill, some of Delhi's low-income residents, those who have migrated from grinding rural poverty in search of work, are not so taken in by these promises.
They have been lying to us since the beginning. I did not see any change in the last 25 years. I have been hearing this since 2005.
The skepticism can be best understood by keeping in mind the recent similar promises. In November 2022, the then Delhi's government Aam Aadmi parties had promised that garbage mountains would disappear in 5 years if they came to power in Delhi's municipal body, Municipal Corporation of Delhi, or MCD. The next year, the then Delhi's finance minister Kailash Gehlot outlined a timeline for clearing those mountains of waste. And now the BJP, which staged an emphatic comeback, has promised to eradicate these unsightly landfills. But with Delhi generating more than 11,000 tons of solid waste each day, the job is easier said than done. At Balswa dump alone, there is more than 4 million tons of waste, whereas the Ghazipur landfill tops the ignominious chart with 8.4 million tons of waste. In addition to these issues of landfills, the pollution in River Yamuna has been a cause of concern for years. Reportedly, since 1993, billions of dollars have been spent to clean up Yamuna, but the result has been dismal. According to the water quality report uploaded by Delhi Pollution Control Committee last July, the biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD, of River Yamuna at Pala, the entry point of Delhi, was 2 micrograms per liter. But this increases to a deeply troubling 85 mg per liter at Asgarpur, the exit point for River Yamuna. The permissible BOD level in the river is 3 mg per liter. This massive difference between the 2 points is indicative of the worsening water quality in the River Yamuna. Leading up to the 2025 Delhi Assembly elections, the issue of polluted Yamuna had elicited a war of words between the then ruling AAP and the opposition BJP. The BJP had promised in its election manifesto to clean up Yamuna in 3 years. The big question is, will the BJP in power, both at the centre and in Delhi, address the pressing concerns of landfills and polluted Yamuna? The changes long awaited and much desired by the residents of Delhi.
A sleepy rural village in the northeast Indian region that borders with Myanmar has been jolted from its peaceful calm as the Indian government has now confirmed its intention to build a fence to demarcate the border between the 2 countries. This would result in a fence that would directly move across the center of this village, throwing its life out of focus. Here's more.
It's the typical idyllic hilltop village, Longwa. National boundaries have never really mattered in these remote parts virtually cut off from cities and mainstream populations. Now they do. Because Longwa village is located bang on the border between India's Nagaland state and Myanmar. Dividing the two will mean running a knife through the hamlet. On a typical day, the marketplace in Longwa bustles with shoppers who've come effectively from Myanmar in the same village. Most of them have never really noticed the concrete border marker erected in the 1970s as a symbol of the India-Myanmar border.
If people are not allowed to come to this side from Burma, then we will suffer a lot.
The concept of borders and imposed restrictions, the village chief says, is as good as alien to them.
At that time, even if they had tried to explain, they, our forefathers, would not even have understood. They did not know Nagamese, Hindi, English. I am both in India and in Burma. I vote for the Burmese election, and when the Indian election comes, I vote there too.
Major upheaval is in the offing, with work to fence the border already underway. The Indian government cited national security to justify revoking the free movement regime. The entire border is to be fenced. 170 buildings in the village are located on the borderline. That means the proposed fence would cut through homes, a government school, and an army camp. The locals are not happy. Protests have erupted.
For us, there is no Burma Longwa or India Longwa. Longwa is one. We do not want Phimsa removed, and we will oppose any initiative to fence the border. This does not have our consent. Longwa family and even the Ang's house will be divided in the middle.
Longwa and its people become a classic case of life versus the compulsions of geopolitics. Humanity pulls in one direction, history's unfinished agendas and divides pull in another.
And that's all we have for you on our show this week. Before we leave, take a look at the Festival of Colors, Holi, that was celebrated across India. For the WION team, I'm Dasuni Athauda, and I will see you next week.
Empowering the tokenized revolution. Tune in to Token Money Magnet, only on WION.
As the world gears up to celebrate the Festival of Colors, we get you a list of films you can watch on Holi. Find out all about the record-breaking Chinese film Liza 2. Get a glimpse of the recently concluded Mughal-e-Azam the musical. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION eClub at these times.
This week on Tech It Out, we take a look at London's phone theft epidemic. We also show you how drones are transforming emergency communication system. And we tell you about a new age technology that is driving the future of connected cars. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
What do you think about the tokenization of this program?
I think it's very innovative, tokenizing their own show.
We want as many people as possible to have a go, experience it, set up a wallet.
I think it's a fantastic opportunity to open up a wallet, understand what it is to have the fractionalization of